Hello, and welcome to our first 30 Under 30 live chat here in June. My name is Marcy Klebano. I am a 30 Under 30 alumnus. I am currently the Director of Coaching for the Ohio Travel Soccer League, as well as the Executive Director for the Soul and Lightning Soccer Club. And I am also your moderator for today's discussion. Today's panel of 30 Under 30 participants will be discussing why they became coaches and their coaching journeys to get them to this point. But before we get started with the questions, we're going to meet our 30 Under 30 participants. Also, another reminder, if any viewers have any questions during today's live chat, please tweet them on Twitter using hashtag NSCAA Live. Thank you. So our first question that we're going to get going with today, and each of our panelists are going to respond to this, is what got you into coaching and what was your first experience coaching? And we'll start with you, Julian.
All right, cool. Thanks, Marcy. So my name is Julian Fernandez. I'm the head men's soccer coach at Chestnut Hill College in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I also do some work with Continental FC, which is a youth club, and work with Pennsylvania ODP. What got me into coaching is, believe it or not, I can remember being like 10 or 12 and being at a summer soccer camp and just thinking like, wow, like I can't believe that all these people here get to do what they love day in and day out. So the seed was planted pretty early, and then once I got a little bit older, my old club coach gave me the opportunity to work with some youth teams, do some youth sessions and whatnot. So jumped at the chance for that, and the rest basically took off from there.
That's great. What about you, Evan?
You know, my first experience, I think I kind of got strong-armed into it. I was in high school still, and the church I went to had an elementary school that needed a coach, and so I would go from my high school varsity practice when I was a junior and a senior, and I would write down as soon as I got in the car in the parking lot everything we did for 18-year-old high school varsity team, and then I'd go down to the 5th and 6th grade boys team and copy everything. I mean, in terms of like age appropriateness, I definitely learned some lessons, and it was totally wrong, but it got me started really early, and I kind of got the bug from there, and it sort of grabbed me and took me, and I ran with it. And obviously, went from there and played college soccer and was a GA with the college program Augsburg where I played, and just kind of kept taking a step up as I went.
And why don't you introduce yourself for the viewers and just let us know where you're coaching now?
Again, Evan Foos. I coach now I'm the assistant director of coaching at San Diego Surf, working with the Boys Development Academy program.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Marcy.
Grant.
Happy to be here.
What about you, Grant?
Thanks, Marcy. Grant Finley, manager in the recruitment and education department at New York Red Bulls. Basically, my role involves the ongoing education and assessment of our staff. We have 150 plus staff in the community. And then from my first experience of being involved in the game from a coaching standpoint was when I left school, and I kind of fell into a coaching course, an HND football studies. It was a pilot coaching course that was coming up at the time, and within that there was a placement opportunity as well as some basic coaching qualifications. So the age of 16, 17 is kind of when I fell into the coaching domain.
Very cool, thank you. And Megan, what about you?
Hi everyone, happy to be here. My name is Megan Gill. I'm currently the assistant men's and women's soccer coach at Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri. I first got started, same as everybody, kind of in high school. The local AYSO needed some coaches, so I started out there coaching a U5 and 16 with my sister, and then, like Evan said, kind of caught the bug and have done camps and clinics and youth stuff all through high school. And then when I look back on it, I think it was my junior year in college when I was out with a knee injury that I kind of got the interest in coaching at the collegiate level. So after I finished college, I found a graduate assistantship here at Columbia College actually, and have been able to stay on since then. So going into my 5th year now, coaching here with the men's and women's sides.
Very cool. Thank you guys for sharing your stories. One thing that I think is wonderful for all viewers and any potential coaches here is that you can start anywhere and get to whatever your goals may be. But it always helps if you have somebody who kind of helps you along the way, which leads into our second question. Who got you into coaching, and how did that kind of kickstart your journey? And Grant, we're actually going to start with you for that one.
Yeah, so building off what I said previously, I kind of fell into coaching through a college course that I was doing, and I've kind of got two mentors over the course of my current path. But my first mentor would be my college lecturer called Drew Todd, who was actually an academy coach at Rangers in Scotland at the time. And his standards and expectations of us, even as 16, 17-year-old novice level coaches, was very, very high. So he used to place a lot of demands on us in terms of our session plan, our timekeeping, our demeanour, our attitude, our professionalism. And I think that really set me in good stead going forward in terms of my introduction to what coaching was about. You know, being a 16, 17-year-old that was still playing at the time. I don't think without that grounding, I don't think I'd be where I'm currently at the moment. And I think that those standards and expectations that were set at the beginning have really set me in good stead. And then from a developmental standpoint, maybe 4 or 5 years into my coaching background, was the captain of a professional club, Stephen Ferguson, who was at Stennismuir Football Club at the time. Gave me a good opportunity and allowed me to mentor and shadow him in terms of, you know, understanding the stages of development and really learning, you know, the nuts and bolts about coaching as well. So there's kind of there's two coaches in there. Drew Todd, as I said, kind of set the standards and expectations for me as I introduced to the game, and then Stevie Ferguson really tried to keep me on, prepare me to the next level. So I've got a lot to thank those two gentlemen for.
Grant, you're breaking up a little bit there, so just make sure that we have that connection good. But thank you. That's very interesting. What about you, Evan?
You know, like I mentioned, I kind of just backed into this sort of youth coaching thing in high school, and I figured I would probably be a high school coach after that. And I went to college expecting to be like a math teacher, and I'd go coach a high school varsity program. And as I got to the end of my college career, I sort of thought, hold on a second, maybe coaching full time is what I want to do, and I was sort of lost. You know, I think this career is tricky because it doesn't really have, you know, if you're a lawyer, you go to law school and then you intern at a law firm and then you work at the law firm. In coaching, it's like you kind of wander through. You know, like Grant said, you need people to latch onto and places to find a way to get in, to get your foot in the door. And so, I mean, when I finished my college playing career, the head coach kind of came to me and said that he had sort of advocated to start this graduate assistant program at Augsburg College. His name was Greg Holker, and that he wanted me to be the first graduate assistant. And, I mean, it just sounded like a dream come true, and the timing was perfect. And I sort of went through and figured out if that was right and what was the right way to do this and go the direction I wanted. You know, the other person I met was Ian Barker, and he was now he's the NSCA director of coaching, but at the time he was another coach in the conference I played in. So I went and sat down with him and talked about kind of coaching as a career and how to navigate this and what the right way to do it was. And he was a great mentor for me, as was Greg, to you know, obviously the technical, tactical aspects, but more on the sort of personal and career aspects of getting into coaching. Those two really helped launch me and give me sort of my first little kickstart.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. And I mean, from my own experience as well, before I went back into the youth game, I was a collegiate coach for the past 8 years. And back when I was even in college myself at an ODP camp, I actually had a mentor come up to me and ask me the question, have you ever considered ... And to all the kids that I've coached today, I said at some point in your life, somebody will say that to you. And if they say it at the right time, it's going to change your life. If they say it at the wrong time, you'll brush it off and not think much of it. And he said, had you ever considered coaching in college? And at the time, I didn't think that was even possible, but I started to let it penetrate and realize that that's great advice. And so I think it's wonderful when any of us have that opportunity to have somebody take an interest in you. And I think we do that every day with the players that we work with. And that's such a great benefit of being a coach today. Let's go on to our next question, though. So what are your goals in your coaching career, and how should one as a coach or as an individual or even as a player go about setting those goals? And Julian, we're going to start with you for that.
Yeah, thanks, Marcy. So I think that one of my biggest goals, you know, is really making an impact on any group that you work with. So whether for me that's at the collegiate level or at the youth level or at the ODP level or whatever level, you know, you have, I think making sure that you're creating a positive environment and making a solid impact on the players that you're working with. Because, you know, especially for the younger age groups and, you know, the youth level, I think that the development side of things is so much more important over success, because I think that success will follow after you're able to kind of create that development and that growth with the group that you're working with. On a selfish side, I obviously wouldn't mind seeing one of the players I've worked with be on TV. I'm lucky to be able to work with some guys that have worked with pro players now, such as Zach Stefan and Keegan Rosenberry, and being able to see them talk about it and the stories that they have from when they were younger and the work that they did with them, and it really like brings something out in them, and so I think that might be something pretty cool to experience. On a personal side, I think obviously being able to get to the highest level that you're able to attain. So whether that be working with one of the pro clubs or maybe a Division I role or something like that. I think that's definitely something that's one of my goals. And I think as far as goal setting goes, I kind of do it the same way that we do it with the college. We kind of lay out what's important to us. So for me, what's important to me, and then kind of creating that timeline as to when am I going to be able to reach these goals. So the things that I had to do to reach those goals. So whether it's taking a course or applying to a job or reaching out to an old colleague or anything like that. But I think that one of the biggest things in being able to set goals is really sitting down and figuring out what's important to you, and even more so what's really attainable for you in your life. So.
Absolutely, I think that's great. Grant, do you have anything to add for that?
Yeah, I mean, I've got short, medium, and long-term goals. I think that in terms of the short-term goals, it's kind of like my job on a day-to-day basis. So just simply being involved in the game and having the opportunity to come to a place like this and do what I do on a daily basis is certainly a daily goal. My role itself is very multifaceted. So 90% of what I do is predominantly working with coaches, whether that be introductory level coaches or whether that be coaches that are working in the pre-academy. And that's something that evolved over time, and I'm starting to become more motivated by that. In terms of a player standpoint, as Julian said, I also work within the ODP program and our pre-development, our RDS, our regional development schools, the pre-academy program as well, which is great. In terms of the long-term, I would say being an academy director of a professional MLS club, and having the opportunity to both manage coaches, players, and people and parents is probably something that appeals to me over the longer term. And then just a medium-term goal is a New Year's resolution that I set a few years ago was that from an education standpoint, I would always look to be involved in some sort of coaching course every single year. So I kind of broke up my goals within 3 kind of categories there.
I think that's great. I think that's important. And along with that, do any of you guys impose any goals onto your players as coaches, or do you think that's an important part that coaches should do, is start to teach their players goal setting?
Yeah, I think not really impose it on the players, because I think if you're setting the goals for them, it makes it difficult for them to want to attain that. So it's more of like an encouragement and kind of sitting down and saying, this is, a few ways or ideas of how to set goals, and now what's important to you guys as a team, and what are you willing to work for and work towards, and then I think it's up to them to really decide what are the goals of the team and what are the goals individually. But I think it is definitely important to encourage goal setting and striving to achieve something as a group as a whole.
I think Megan's made a really valuable distinction between the word imposing and encouraging. And that's really important. I would say even beyond goal setting, it certainly applies to goal setting with your players, but even beyond goal setting with respect to the team's playing style or their technical tactical development, I think our role as modern coaches is more about encouraging or guiding than it is imposing. And I would add to that modeling as well. I mean, the fact that we're pairing these questions, what are your goals in your career, and with a question about how do you work with goal setting with your individual players, I think the link between those two questions is really important. You can't really expect your players to be going through a rigorous goal setting process, really taking it seriously, doing something that's meaningful to them, if you're not modeling that too. And in fact, if you're really modeling it well, you might be able to get them to ask about it or to engage in it on their own or of their own will, as opposed to sort of imposing it on them.
No, I think those are great points, both from you, Megan, and you, Evan. I think, a big word that comes to this is the ambition idea. By us as coaches continuing to be ambitious in our own development and our own growth as coaches, and models and role models and all of the words that can describe the many hats that we play, it helps these players understand that they need to be ambitious in whatever they decide to follow, whether it, be an ambitious soccer career or in life as a whole. So I think what you guys have said has hit the nail on the head and things that we need to continue to do. And Evan, you actually led right into our next question. What are the most important characteristics of a good coach, or what are the ones that you think are of the highest level, and how have you continued to perfect those in your own life as a coach?
I mean, I maybe the word perfect them in my own life brings up the fact that humility is an important skill for a coach. I mean, I think there's a lot of coaches out there, and the game is so big and so complex that none of us really have the keys. So maybe the first thing you could say is just being humble with respect to the game and recognizing that you don't know it all and nobody does, and really that leads to maybe, for me, an important characteristics of anybody involved in the game is just being a learner, a constant learner. And I mean, Grant brought that up with respect to, taking some coaching, licensing, or education every year. You can't be a good coach unless you're constantly learning. The game's changing too fast, and like I said, it's too big and complex for any of us to really truly understand. And that's sort of the beauty of it. I mean, with respect to the teaching aspect, I might say empathy is a really important characteristic. Surf just had, has an affiliation with Manchester City, and we just had the Mark Allen, the city academy director, out, and he talked about empathy as being an important characteristic with coaching. You need to understand where the player is coming from in their life and in their personal psychology and in their learning style in order to bring the game to them or meet the game with them, and that requires a lot of empathy. I think might be an overlooked characteristic of a coach.
Absolutely. Megan, what about you?
Yeah, Evan hit one of my, I think one that's most important is being a constant learner. And I think you see that at the conventions that the NSCAA hosts as well. You see coaches from the highest levels still continuing to go to these things and continuing to learn. On the field perspective, I think adaptability is huge as coaches. Situations, especially in sports, are unpredictable and uncontrollable, and how can you adapt and how can you help your team to adapt to those situations, whether it's on the field and, it's raining and storming that day, or, the referees in a game, the opponents, there's all these different aspects that you can't control. So how can you adapt and how can you help your team adapt, I think are very important, a very important characteristic for coaches. And then one other one that Evan kind of hit on it too, I think, is caring. I'm a big quote person, so I love the quote that Pat Summitt would say is, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. It's important to show that you care about them as a person first, not just a player, else it's hard to get them to work and kind of trust you in what you do as a coach until they know that you care about them as a player.
I think those are great. Grant, do you have anything to add? Grant, did we lose you? Yeah, we might have lost Grant. Julian, did you have anything to add to that one?
Yeah, no, I mean, just kind of piggybacking off of what Megan had said, just the whole care aspect. One of the big things that we try to do with our individual meetings that we had this past year is, summer workouts and whatnot, and all that kind of good stuff. But trying to get players to really care about being involved in the program and really caring and striving. But like Megan said, if players don't see how much you really care about what you're doing in the program and the players that you're bringing in and all that kind of good stuff, if they don't really have anybody to look to that, like Evan had said, that kind of, models that for them, how can they really take on, what you're trying to get across? So I think, everybody's made really good points towards that.
No, absolutely. And I think along with that, a question that kind of can be a follow-up for you three to answer, and it goes along with that caring idea, is obviously you want to show the players that you care, but sometimes you've got to be, the tough cop or the bad cop and kind of show them that it's not always the easy way. How would you go about doing that while still exemplifying that, we do have their best interests at heart and we do want the best for them.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Megan. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, just going off that, I think part of that is being honest with them, being upfront and saying, I care about you, but I want the best for you, and in order to have the best for you, it's not always the easy way out. Some of those things are difficult and they take work and they take effort. So it's being honest and upfront and just saying, if this is what you really want, it's not always, there's not, a free ride everywhere to go. So it takes that work and showing them that in order to get there, they need to do that work. So kind of putting it in perspective for them that we do care about you, but we are going to ask a lot of you because this is what you've told us you want, where you want to be or what you want in life.
I think Megan hit the nail on the head. Like she said, it's a balance between caring and this tough love aspect. I would put on opposite ends of a spectrum, caring about a player as a person and caring about a player as an athlete and their sort of development. And you can't really maximize either end of that spectrum without emphasizing the other end. I can't really truly develop you as a player if I can't meet you first as a person. And I can't really show you how much I care about you as a person unless I recognize that the reason you're here and the reason we're interacting together is to help develop you as a player. And if you're doing it right, you're doing a lot of both of those, and they compound each other. If you're doing it wrong, I think you're putting too much emphasis on one end. Either you're a softie and you just want to be a player's friend, or you're too hard on them and you could care less about the person as an individual, and you're just driving the soccer aspect all the time.
Absolutely. Grant, are you there?
Yeah, sorry, I got kicked off there.
No, absolutely. We're just discussing what are the most important characteristics of a good coach and how have you perfected them, and then we kind of added, both Megan and Evan kind of talked about the caring aspect. How can you continue to show players that you care despite sometimes having to be the bad cop or, show them that there's not always an easy way out?
Well, talking about the characteristics, maybe not me. I'm not assuming that I'm a good coach, but certainly from a recruitment point of view, the things that I would look for, in terms of the key characteristics of a good coach would be, as Evan was saying earlier, in terms of empathy and humility. Looking at them as a person first and foremost. I think you have to have a genuine love for the game and a genuine love for developing players. I think that's first and foremost. You've got to look at the person before you even look at the coaching skill set. So I think that's vitally important. And then having an ability to really understand the age group, the ability level, the mentality, the gender that you're working with. I think taking all those factors into account is vitally important as well. So just having a knowledge of the game on its own isn't enough. I think that you really have to understand each individual needs at the stages of development. And then finally, I also think that the top coaches at the top level are the ones that think intuitively. So those that supplement their experience and their knowledge of the game, and amalgamate their knowledge and experience of the game. I think that's what eventually makes you intuitive. So really just putting the hours in on the field, learning from trial and error, making mistakes and learning from experiences. I think I don't think there's any shortcut to becoming a good coach. I think that you have to put in the hours on the field, and hopefully you'll see the benefits of that over time.
Absolutely. We're going to go on to our next question now. So Megan, I'm going to start with you as a generic question, and feel free to answer this kind of however you feel, but why do you coach? What do you love about the role of coaching that has helped you in your life? Yeah,
as Julian was saying earlier, to make an impact. I think that's why I wanted to be a coach. I like to think of coaches as teachers in our classrooms and soccer field. We have such a passion and love for this game, and I get to teach that, but I also get to teach the life lessons that come along with it, the teamwork, facing adversity, lessons that they're going to take after their college career. So I know coaches that I've had as a player had that kind of impact on me, and that's kind of the impact that I try to make as a coach, and why I coach and why I love what I do.
Absolutely. Julian, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, Megan brought it up in the whole education side. I think that's been a real common theme that we've been talking about a bit. Is what really makes coaching so great is that you know, we really get to educate and make an impact on these kids and on these individuals in a different medium than school does, because I think we teach them so much more than the X's and O and the tactical and technical side, but really how to to grow up and be an individual that makes an impact on their own life and then the life of the individuals around them as well. And then I don't know if it's a bad thing to say, but I mean, obviously the competition side of coaching, as long as it's healthy competition, especially at the collegiate level, the competition's a big thing, and I think that's a huge driving force behind, a lot of individuals that have played any kind of sport before, and then, those individuals that go on to coach as well. And I think especially in the youth development, and I talked about this a little bit before as well, but one of the biggest things for me, and it's kind of like my aha moment with coaching, is it might not be a day or 2 days or a week, it could be a month, couple of months, but if you're working with a young talented group of players, and you're really focusing on one kind of concept, and then that one moment, or in that session that they get what you've been really trying to get them to do is really why I coach. Just that one moment where you go, hey, what I'm doing is working, not only on the field, but for them as individuals as they grow. So.
No, I think that's great. Another question I'm going to kind of open up to all of you, and we'll just kind of go down the line, is for anyone thinking about trying to make coaching a career, as we've kind of all done in our own way, what advice do you have for them to either get started or even continue to grow in what they've already done? And Evan, why don't we start with you?
I think this connects back to the previous connection. Why do you coach? And I mean, the first thing I would advise somebody thinking about this as a career is to think about themselves in this. Is this right for them? Because it's not right for everybody. And I think if it's not right for you, you won't give your best to it. You know what I mean? I think about it being right for you, or that sort of idea of it fitting you or being your vocation, as the intersection of three circles. One, can you support yourself? Just logistically, we have to be able to make a little bit of money to put food on the table or roof over our head. Two, does it make you fulfilled? And I think fulfillment's different than happiness. Happiness is like, haha, that was a good joke. Fulfillment is like, this gives my life meaning and purpose. And at the last circle, I think, is impact. And that's sort of the fulfillment, but not the personal level, like the world or group level, the humanity level. You need to be able to make a difference in the world around you. And if you look at where those three circles for you, so financial support or making some money, fulfillment of yourself, and fulfillment or impact on society around you, and you find that coaching involves all of those, then I think this is right for you. I mean, ultimately, I think the only thing I would say is if it meets those three sort of criteria, or it's at the intersection of those three circles, then you need to take it seriously and be ambitious about it, and most of all, be a professional. I mean, the two sort of mentors that got me into this that I mentioned at the beginning, Greg Holker and Ian Barker, both really taught me what it means to be a professional, not to coach paid players, professionals, but to take what you do seriously and look the part and talk the part and act the part and really ambitiously sort of dress for the job you want, I guess, and take yourself seriously in that respect.
Grant, what about you?
Similar to what everybody else has been saying so far, I think that you've got to be a person that isn't doing it for yourself. I relate back to having a genuine passion for making a difference in the game in some capacity, whether that be working at grassroots level and you're just looking to inspire players to become soccer fans of the game, or whether that be working at academy level and try to take players to the next level and try and build some sort of career for them. I think that you've always got to put the players first, and I think that another thing that you've got to take into account as well is that you've just got to put the hours in on the field. There's no shortcut to developing as a coach. I think that you have all these coach education courses that you can take, which would supplement your learning, and it should be added to the hours that you're putting on in the field, and it should be relative to what you're currently doing. I truly believe in not cutting corners, putting in getting in the trenches and doing the hours on the field, and eventually that, becoming intuitive that we spoke about before. I genuinely believe that's the knowledge and the experience that you learn by just being on the field. you know, and I speak to a lot of coaches that like to talk about the progressions for them individually and how can they get from here to there. And, you know, I always say to them that, you know, it's about, are you committed enough to just put the hours on the field, and if you don't cut the corners and you have a genuine care for what you do, you will eventually climb the ladder. And you know, that's the advice that I'd be looking to give any introductory level coach, is just put the hours in on the field.
Absolutely. Megan?
I agree with them. I think one thing is to decide, like Evan was saying, and Grant, like what level, you know, kind of thinking more what level you're interested in, and then if you're unsure, to test the waters, you know, try it out for a season or a semester, or if you're not sure if you're ready to go all in, but at least, you know, give it a shot, and then, you know, sit back, reflect, you know, was this what I expected? Is this what I want to do with my life? Am I capable of doing this? As Evan said, is it, you know, whether it's fiscally or possible to do so, and then if so, you know, go all in, work hard, be a consistent learner, and as Grant was saying, get on the field, get the hours in. That's the only way to get experience. So, you know, test the waters, see if it is the right option for you or what you think is, and then if so, go all in and try to become the best coach you can be.
Absolutely. Julian?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest things is just if you think at all that you might be interested, you know, really just jump into the experience, or any experience that you can get. You know, get out to, you know, like Grant was saying, get out to sessions, do the work on the field. And you know, Evan was talking a little bit about humility, and I think one of the best ways that we learn, even more so than, you know, the coaching courses, is really by your colleagues and evaluations of the sessions that you do and things like that. So, you know, inviting people to come out and watch your session and give some feedback, and you know, I think that really adds to the growth, you know, of us as coaches. And then, you know, just get out to the coaching courses as soon as you can. You know, I truly believe that you know, you really get to see the game in a different way once you get to see the courses. So, you know, even for players that are in college that think, hey, you know, I think I might want to do this as a GA, or, you know, after I'm done, you know, get the coaching courses in, because they really only help.
No, I think everything that you guys said is so important, and I think, you know, along with what you were saying, Julian, the networking, you know, even just meeting you four, you know, or talking to anybody that you know that has either started it at whatever level, I think is really important. You know, again, I spoke of my prior experience where Brett Thompson came up to me and talked to me about potentially coaching in college, and it was something that changed my life. So I think to take advantage of those opportunities is really good. We actually have gotten a question from Twitter, so I'm going to open this up to anybody who would like to respond to it. But what was one element of coaching that was surprising to you when you first started your career?
I can jump in, I guess. Yeah. I mean, I kind of had the same, you know, I went to college, I wanted to be a teacher, I wanted to be a high school math teacher, and I sort of thought, okay, well, we'll take these college courses, we'll learn about how to make worksheets and tests, and how to give out grades and how all that stuff works, then we'll go off into schools and do that. And I sort of realized that's not at all what teaching education is about. It's about the social aspects and the psychological aspects, and how people learn and how people think, and how to impact those things. And I would say the same with respect to coaching. I sort of thought I was going to be a coach, and I'd learn where to put the cones and like what to yell at people, and that's how coaching went. And again, I sort of realized that, you know, I think Megan made a great point earlier. Coaching is teaching, and your classroom is the field, and ultimately it's not about where you put the cones. It's not about what you yell or how much you yell. It's about how you interact with the players, and it really is coaching is a people career. It's a people job. And being able to influence and impact and connect with people.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can come in as well. I agree with Evan and Megan. I think when I first came involved, I didn't realise just how individualised soccer was. And again, this is me relating back to when I was 17, 18. I thought it was just about setting up sessions and creating an environment. You know, there's so much more that goes into it, and understanding all the different pillars of the game, you know, the teaching process, understanding the stages of development, understanding the psyche of players, and as Evan says, it's very much, you know, learning about the individuals in your squad and getting the best out of them, and try to fulfil their full potential. So I think it's a very, very complex process, and I think that that's why there's never really a right or wrong answer in the way that you do it. It's just about how you manage or deal each situation individually, depending on the context in which you're involved in.
Great. Well, unfortunately, that is all the time that we have today. Thank you very much for listening to our panel and to all of our viewers for watching. The NSCAA would like to remind you that it's not too late to sign up for our summer coaching education right now and check out the full master course schedule today. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you at our next 30 Under 30 chat.
Thanks.